I don't even know how HTML work after the boot camp.
Let's take the cash question off to the way. Can you give a range of like what you're earning right now?
I remember before you said, "Oh, reading my code is like giving your eyes cancer."
Would you be able to replicate the stuff that we've done in the program by yourself?
Like people think AI is taking over the jobs, but I feel like
If you wouldn't join this program, like how long do you think it would have taken you till you would have landed this job that you have right now? So how is it to be a developer? Like what's your take after a few months in the job or on the job?
I think it's actually pretty true when people say you actually learn while being on the job
Hmm.
because I feel like the moment I joined, there are some things I didn't know about, but
Yeah,
you kind of have to be good at reading the documents, you know,
documentation.
documentations, yeah. Because that's pretty much everything.
What do you
So
mean?
I
There are no Udemy courses when you join the company? They don't have their own Udemy courses? It's unbelievable.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Imagine they had Udemy course, you have to search through each single one to look for the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
But
What do you do?
yeah,
So what's your official position? Are you front end, back end, full stack? What do you do?
majority of the work I've been doing is front end since I'm a junior developer.
Hmm.
But one day needed me on the back end side, which is like certain scenarios where if they're needing more hands-on onto
Hmm.
it, they'll give it to me. But I did voice out my opinion where I did want to learn back end, right?
Hmm.
Um, and they'll let me. But with back end, they just don't want to let any junior in
Hmm.
unless they really need it.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
my job is pretty much similar to what we do, which is web
In the program
development.
you're in.
Yeah. Mine is like business to business
B2B, yeah.
projects,
Yeah.
B2B projects where client needs certain things and then we just develop it for them. And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
then there's like we only have one designer, UX designer who designs
Yeah.
the application for us. And then we have certain, like a week, a month, depending on the project to
Hmm.
finish it.
Hmm. Let's take the cash question off to the way. Can you give a range of like what you're earning right now? Just for people to be like, okay, that's it. Then they can stop.
For the entry level, it was 65 to 75.
Before you joined the program, you were doing something else. I think you were in a coding bootcamp. How did
I
that work out?
was. I was in a coding boot camp because I wanted to, switch careers. And then I thought
What
coding
were you,
boot
what
camp,
were you doing before?
marketing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to, learn more about programming in a way.
Uh-huh.
And I
Uh-huh.
thought coding boot camp was like the best way. And I thought, oh, if it's 3 months of coding boot camp, then it'll probably be easy to learn.
So as a
But
marketing guy, you fell for the marketing?
yeah, because I searched up, they were saying like, oh, if you put enough time, dedication, you'll learn how to do in 3 months, right?
And what was the outcome of
And
that?
the outcome is basically I just learned the fundamentals of
Uh-huh.
everything, basically, where I didn't deep dive enough into it.
Hmm.
Because I think in the coding boot camp, they want you to learn as many things as possible.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you deep dive. But
Yeah.
for someone who had prior coding knowledge going into boot camp, I think you take more out of it because you
Hmm.
kind of have three people 24/7 to help you in like certain areas.
So
Whereas
you were a
for
total noob when you joined the bootcamp.
I had no knowledge at all, like
Okay.
zero. I didn't even know how to write hello world, you
Oh,
know,
really?
like that. Yeah. So
That's
me going into it, I think like the first week you learn JavaScript, the next week you have to build a game.
but that's
And I was
not
just
possible, bro. It's like
yeah. And then I was like, how do you build a game? I don't even know how
uh-huh.
to write like an if
For
statement
loops.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
And when you finished the bootcamp, like what happened?
when I finished the boot camp, I went on a job search and then I got one, but it was like under the table.
Uh-huh.
So it only lasted me like a month.
Uh-huh.
And then afterwards, it was like still kind of hard to find a job. And
Hmm.
at the same time, I was trying to learn things that I didn't need to learn. Like
Yeah.
first I had to master JavaScript and then um I didn't even know how HTML worked after the boot camp. Isn't
Really?
that crazy? Yeah, I paid all that money to not know how HTML worked.
So you didn't know how to make a website?
Yeah. Well, I did, but then I didn't know how HTML correlates with JavaScript and like
Really?
CSS. Yeah, I didn't know like how those things work, right?
Uh-huh.
Because
Interesting.
when I was in a boot camp, I was partnering up with people a lot to work on
Uh-huh.
my problems, and they just
Uh-huh.
kind of like took over, you know? So I just
Because you
kind of
have that guy that takes everything and then the rest of
yeah,
them of
e-
you are just cruising along, yeah?
exactly. So basically, he was called the driver, you
Uh-huh.
know, and everyone else is just like the
The passenger.
passenger. Yeah. So we're just like copying what he does. And I
Were
think that's
you becoming a LinkedIn zombie? Do you know what's a LinkedIn zombie?
you look through the course.
No, a LinkedIn zombie.
Oh, no. Is that when you like
When
apply?
you finish a bootcamp like 5 years ago and then you're still on LinkedIn quick applying.
Oh.
But you stop coding and stuff like that and you write stuff about the economy and stuff like that. That's a
Oh.
LinkedIn zombie. I had to come up with a name like a month ago
Like
and
that's a good one.
I'm
No,
gonna trademark it.
nah, I wasn't active on LinkedIn at all.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Cause
I
yeah,
got it.
because I literally took a year.
When we met, um,
Yeah, then we met. I think you messaged me, and
joining the
then
program, were you scared like, oh fuck, this guy is a scammer? Like, what were you thinking?
uh, not that you're a scammer, but I did have to research on you
Uh-huh.
on kind of like what you
How did you
do.
do your research? Because you didn't even see the testimonials. I just asked you
Yeah,
in the beginning. Like, what kind of research did you do? I'm just
I
curious.
just I did like it's well, it's half true and half not, but
Uh-huh.
I just scrolled past. I was
Skimmed.
like, yeah, I skimmed through it. And I was like, he has like 10. Let's go. You
Okay,
know,
okay.
like 10. I see that you have like 10, 12 videos posted.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's enough for me. I didn't even watch it.
Okay. 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 So I spent all that time doing all those videos for nothing. Fair enough. And then when you joined, what was your, because we had the onboarding call, right? And then I said, okay, you're gonna start from here. When did
Yeah.
you start to see your first, I guess, wins or your first bottlenecks or your first blind spots? Do you remember? Was there a specific moment?
Um, I think it's not more of specific moments where I kind of saw my weakness and what I need to work on,
Mhm.
but it's more like every single project, there's always something I'm doing wrong. Every
Uh-huh.
single task that you had me do, like the big ones,
Like
especially
from
the
the
cat,
roadmap, right? The
yeah, the
JavaScript projects.
roadmap. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I noticed that I'm sluggish in certain areas compared to others, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like there are some times where um I'm very repetitive and you would
Yeah.
catch on and then be
Uh-huh.
like, hey, like instead of you being repetitive, you could reuse the functions here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of my weakness throughout the
Uh-huh.
roadmap.
Uh-huh.
And especially the big calculator, like I feel like I kind of jumbled up my codes in a
Uh-huh.
way,
Uh-huh.
whereas like all over the place, you can't read it. I think
Yeah.
that's what you said. You like reading my code. I remember before you said, "Oh, reading my code is like giving your eyes cancer."
Really? That's what I said?
Yeah.
It sounds like something I would say. But I don't remember that.
It's because I would write like 500, 600 lines within one file.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that
Instead of
sound.
me.
So then it's you and another student that I told that to, Nahom. I said I made him do 50 push-ups, because he didn't
Yeah.
name his variables properly. So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
he made the video and put the video on school.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like each task you had specifically has like a different meaning to me, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I took away like little by little things,
Hmm.
you know. I feel like it's impossible for you to take a lot of information that you're doing wrong. So I always
Uh-huh.
tell myself like, okay, let's focus on doing this for the next one.
Uh-huh.
And then like making my weakness a little
Smart.
bit smaller and smaller compared to like I'm doing 100 things wrong for the next project. There can't be like 100 of those things. It's like so hard for me to kind of
How did you
remember.
come up with that mindset? That's a very good way of thinking. How did you come up
Uh,
with it?
because I play sports, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So like when you play sports and you have a weakness, you have like your coach tells you, dude, you're doing like 20 things wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember 20 of those things for the next, you know, next
Yeah.
event. So I try to minimize it by doing like 3 things less until it's like perfect.
Very
So I
interesting.
just do it onto here. Because I feel
Very
like
interesting.
if I take on like 100 of those things, I'm only gonna do like well on 3 or 5 of those.
How you didn't get discouraged if let's say you get to do like 100 wrong things per project. How you didn't get discouraged mm, by seeing that you're doing 100 wrong things per project? Because some people would take that extremely like personally, right? And be like, oh fuck, I'm not good for it. But you took it like, oh, whatever, I'm bad at this, but I'm gonna fix these 3 things for next time.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how didn't you get affected emotionally, or were you affected emotionally, but you just pushed through it? Like, what
Oh
was your
yeah,
mindset?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I think everyone will feel affected
Yeah,
personally. Because like if someone's telling you, hey, you're doing like 100 things wrong, right?
yeah,
Compared to, and then everyone's always going to compare themselves to like another person. This
yeah,
person's getting like 10 things wrong,
yeah.
right? But to me, I think it's the end result where it's like very satisfying.
Uh-huh.
Like your hard work, and then later when you publish the app, right?
Yeah.
Like that right there is like a self-satisfying thing. Like, oh, I did it, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's funny because the moment you do that, you're doing 100 things wrong again.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But even so, like if you feel like you're getting better and better
yeah.
slowly, then it's just like that satisfaction I get.
Are you also like a gamer? Do you play games, like video
Yeah.
games?
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess you carried, like, I noticed this a lot with people who either play sports or are gamers. They do really well in coding. Not necessarily because you are using a computer, but you have the
Yeah.
mindset of like, I'm gonna try this until I'm gonna be the boss, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna learn
yeah.
the tricks.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And dude, that's the same thing in like the real world, right? Someone
Yeah.
gives you a ticket, you think you're done, but you're not done with the ticket because they just send it back to you.
For review. Yeah.
Yeah, with the review, they're like, oh, you kind of did this wrong. We're building it for a client. And the
Yeah.
moment we like give it to the client and publish it, like we don't want anything to like break down because
Yeah.
otherwise it ruins the reputation,
Yeah.
you know? And
Hmm.
then not only will I get in trouble, like my lead will get in trouble.
How do you feel about AI taking your job like so far?
I actually had a conversation with this with someone, and I feel like, yeah, like people think AI is taking over the jobs, but I feel like not for another decade or so,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
And we feel like it's it's just because the AI, everyone thinks they're gonna take over because they could do a lot of things,
Yeah.
anything like computer related or anything like even like web development, you could technically create a website online, but there are
Yeah.
things you can't do.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't feel that worried about it.
What about the team project? Because that's kind of the thing that differentiates me, I would say, mostly that's like the biggest thing compared with like a bootcamp or self-taught. Like, what was
Mhm.
your experience going through that?
Oh, I actually really like the team project because
Just don't say
uh
the name because it has to be,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I really like the team project because I've never because throughout the roadmap, right?
yeah,
You're working solo,
yeah.
and then the moment you finish the roadmap, boom, you're working with like other developers. And when
Hmm.
you're working with other developers, you have to change your mindset in a way that kind of
Hmm.
like make sure you, like I said, your code is dry, like it doesn't affect the other developers' code. You have to like communicate with them, and you also have to learn Git, which
Yeah.
like I didn't use at all that much except like Git push,
Yeah.
Um, and then peer reviews. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think the best thing actually, in my personal opinion, is being able to read uh their code
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how they write certain things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when working in a team project, being able to read other people's code will make you learn more.
Yeah.
It gives you that skill set. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then if you're able to have that skill set, you're able to grasp things easier because you kind of see like how they solve a problem.
Yeah.
And then like the more you see that, the more you could kind of like take that in and then like reuse it.
Yeah.
And that's what they say about like doing about lead code, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you keep doing them, you see how other people solve them, and then you could kind of take some of it and reuse it onto yours, which ones you like.
Would you be able to replicate the stuff that we've done in the program by yourself? Like, yeah, would you be able to replicate it? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, I can do it by myself," and in my opinion, it's like you're crazy. But what's your opinion on this?
Um, the entire team project.
The entire team project, or like with a roadmap and everything,
Um,
or like the team project. Let's say the
yeah,
roadmap, you can find one that you can,
yeah. I think if I were if if I was put on the spot and I'm a self-taught developer trying to replicate that exact application,
Mhm.
I feel like anyone could replicate majority like any websites, but it takes time and research. I'm not gonna think like, okay, I could do it right away.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? I feel
Yeah.
like I can do it, but it's gonna take like a long time for me to kind of like figure out like, okay, how did this person do this? How did this person do that?
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's not gonna be like 100% perfect
Hmm.
compared to you want me to.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
The edge cases, right?
yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like 100% the way it is. Like if you're just talking about like the front page, I feel like a lot of people can do that, but like this what's happening behind is like gonna be hard.
And you don't want to see what's happening with it right now. It's like I'm scared when I'm in the meetings and I hear them talking because it changed so much since you left.
Yeah.
It's like a totally different beast. And
Yeah,
again, on the front, it looks the same, but what is happening behind the scenes, the way we have our PR structure and whatnot, and the way you are allowed to open PRs and the way we structure the teams and whatnot, it's like a totally different level compared with when you left. So
yeah, I actually saw a glimpse of it, and the first thing I thought was like, wow, this is like so organized.
yeah, well, I'm gonna give credit to Jacob. He's also gonna be on the channel soon because he took the time to. I was like, wow, this guy. Because he really likes this stuff. He really likes. He got personally involved into it. Like, I want to
Yeah,
do it this way, and then he set up the whole Discord and whatnot with the
yeah, yeah,
channels, with the bots, with the
yeah,
processes, and I'm like, wow, this to me it feels like at work, especially the meetings and whatnot.
yeah. No,
Uh,
it actually feels way, way organized.
If you wouldn't join this program, like how long do you think it would have taken you till you'd have landed this job that you have right now?
Probably an additional like 5, 6 months.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
say 8 months most
Uh-huh.
because I do with you told me straight up like, hey, like this is what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But with me, if I was still learning by myself, I wouldn't know
Uh-huh.
until further down the line,
Uh-huh.
as I keep learning, and I would go back again and be like, okay, I messed up here. I shouldn't do that again, you
Uh-huh.
know? But with you, I'm already getting the answers like right away,
Yeah.
right? And the cool thing is that you have to approve approve of my
Cancerize.
code. Yeah, you have to you have to approve of my code before I can move on to the next task. So that's the cool thing.
Let's end it because we've been here for like 1 hour almost. But yeah, bro, pleasure to work with you, man.
Of
Wish
course, of
you
course,
good luck in your career. And yeah, if you need anything, just hit me up, okay?
of course. I got you. Appreciate you for having me.
Cheers, bro. Boom.
Cheers.